At St. Mary's Church on November 30th, in the small village of Poraamai, the 300-year-old St. Mary's Church was filled with a special anticipation. The church, led by Father Joseph for the past 25 years, was known for its inclusivity and acts of kindness. Tonight, the modest Christian community of 75 souls had invited 15 religious leaders from the surrounding regions of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. These leaders represented Hinduism, Islam, Jainism, Buddhism, Judaism, Zoroastrianism, and Sikhism, and they had come together out of curiosity and a shared respect for Father Joseph. The religious leaders took their seats on the first 2 rows of benches, usually occupied by the Christian community, who took their seats behind them. The guests marveled at the beautifully painted wooden ceiling and the decorations taken from nature. Candles flickered, casting a warm glow throughout the church, illuminating the nativity scenes, wreaths, and garlands adorned with holly and ivy. The scent of cedar and the soft glow of candlelight created an atmosphere of peace and reverence. Father Joseph stepped to the front of the congregation, his eyes reflecting the warmth of the candles around him. He began his speech with a deep breath, knowing the importance of the message he was about to convey. This year has been a year of extreme hardship for our communities, he began, his voice steady and compassionate. We have endured 3 years of drought followed by overwhelming monsoon rains, which have hit our communities badly and have led to big sacrifices for all of us. He paused, looking at the leaders who nodded in agreement. While there continues to be strife in our daily lives, we have seen the leaders of all faiths come together to organize relief for those worst affected during these calamities. This unity in the face of adversity is a testament to our shared humanity. Father Joseph continued, despite these challenges, the people of Poraamai have been persistent in upholding our ancient traditions in the modern world. The forces of modernism and urbanism have not yet invaded and taken over our beliefs, but they pose a significant challenge. As we witness our children being drawn to the comforts of bigger cities, it becomes crucial for us to find ways to coexist with this powerful movement. There was a strong round of applause from the leaders. They all agreed that more than any religious animosity, the threat of modernism and urbanism was their biggest enemy. We need to think about ways to coexist with this force, Father Joseph continued, just as Hindus, Muslims, Christians, and other faiths have learned to coexist in the tolerant country of India. Traditionalism exacts a lot of hardship from our communities, and these hardships can be eliminated overnight by succumbing to the comforts of modernism. But is this view not very short-sighted? Does urban life, with its time stress and pollution, offer so much more comfort than our idyllic world? He looked around, seeing the leaders nodding in agreement. Not for no reason are we seeing more and more people from the big cities returning to our villages, and wealthy people walking around in ethnic and simple attire tending to cows just like any poor farmer. It is our role to upkeep traditionalism for those who have left us in search of a more comfortable life in the cities, only to realize too late the downsides of city life. Father Joseph listed a few more downsides of city life, such as the lack of community, higher crime rates, and the fast-paced, stressful environment. We must ensure that our traditional values are practiced and lived in our everyday lives. Poraamai has not yet been infiltrated by the bad influences of the missionaries of modernism and urbanism. The worst of these industries are gaming, social media, and advertising. The round of applause to his speech was unending. The leaders understood the urgency of the message. Father Joseph continued, "It is no longer just a myth, but a reality that modernism and urbanism will take away our young generation if we don't retain their interest in our ways. Almost all young boys aged 13 years and older have been sent to hostels in urban centers, and the girls yearn to follow suit, unwilling to labor 14 hours a day, 7 days a week in our traditional communities. Many villages outside of Poraamai can only retain the elderly, but that does not provide enough support to maintain our traditional village life and our long-standing customs. He concluded, some very highly developed countries, like Germany and the Netherlands, have managed to maintain traditionalism, even in a modern urban environment, and to share modern comforts into the villages, without the villagers giving up their culture and rituals. This should also be our target in the medium term. This journey will be a long one and will challenge us to be creative. But I feel that if all faiths work together on this overall objective, we can ensure that traditionalism survives and thrives. Father Joseph then extended a warm invitation to the children and adults of Poraamai to join them every evening at 6 p.m. for a brief yet captivating storytelling session. These stories will delve into the traditions and rituals observed by various communities around the world during Christmas time, many of which are absolutely awe-inspiring. It's important to note that most of these traditions predate Christianity and were later embraced and integrated into the Christian way of life. Our intent is not missionary in nature, but rather to share some of the most beautiful customs that have preserved traditional values over centuries. Tonight, he continued, I would like to kick off the session with a story about the origins of Christmas and introduce you to a special calendar invented in Germany known as the Advent Calendar. With a gentle smile, Father Joseph invited everyone to embark on this journey together and explore the enchanting story behind Christmas and the Advent Calendar. To truly appreciate the Christmas celebration, we must journey back to its historical origins. In the Northern Hemisphere, December 21st marks the shortest day of the year, known as the winter solstice. On this day, the sun's rays are at their weakest, and the further north you go, the less daylight you receive. In the Arctic, it remains completely dark even during the daytime. Historically, the tribes of Northern Europe, including the Scandinavian people, celebrated this shortest day with festivities of light and feasting. The Norse, for example, celebrated Yule from December 21st to January, lighting large logs and feasting until the log burned out. As the 4th century after Christ dawned, there was a great movement to spread new ideas and beliefs across the globe. Christian missionaries, active and determined, realized that their efforts would be greatly facilitated if they adopted and integrated the customs and rituals of local tribes, rather than prohibiting them. This blending of traditions helped ease the transition for many communities from their own forms of worship to new celebrations and enriched the festive atmosphere. The title Christ is commonly used, but it is actually a title derived from a Greek word meaning anointed one. In Hebrew, the term Messiah translates to coming Savior. In the 4th century, Emperor Constantine established December 25th as the official date to celebrate the birth of this revered figure. This date coincided with the winter solstice, allowing local communities to first celebrate their own customs and then partake in the new celebration of Christmas a few days later. The word Christmas itself is a combination of Christ and Mass, with Mass coming from the Latin word missa, meaning dismissal. This term signifies the conclusion of a gathering and the call to carry the spirit of the celebration into daily life. On the eve of this special birth, at midnight on December 24th, communities come together for a service that marks the end of fasting and the beginning of feasting with bread and wine. This service, known as Mass, strengthens the participants and sends them forth to live out the Christian values in their everyday lives. These were the beginnings of an event that we now call Christmas. Over time, several other early customs emerged, adding layers of tradition and meaning to the celebration. One such tradition is the Christmas tree. People began to decorate their homes with evergreen boughs to symbolize enduring life through the coldest months. This custom eventually evolved into the beloved tradition of the Christmas tree. Feasting and gift-giving were also inspired by the Roman festival of Saturnalia, which included social gatherings and joyous celebrations. The Yule log, a large piece of wood burned in the hearth in Northern Europe, symbolized warmth and light during the darkest days of winter. Mistletoe and holly, plants believed to bring good luck and protection, were precursors to the Advent wreath, which is decorated with 4 candles representing the 4 Sundays before Christmas. In the early days, Christmas was not solely a festival for children, but a community-wide celebration. However, children, in their boundless excitement, were often the most impatient for the festivities. This impatience led to an unusual invention in Germany, an invention that has found a home in almost every German household during the month of December. This delightful tradition is known as the Advent Calendar. The Advent Calendar serves as a beautiful way to mark the days leading up to Christmas, with each day bringing a small surprise, enhancing the anticipation of the celebration. It bridges the gap between tradition and modernity, bringing families together to celebrate the wonder of the Christmas season. Just as the Advent Calendar has brought joy to countless households, it can inspire new traditions in various cultures and faiths, fostering unity and shared happiness. As we gather here tonight, let us celebrate the rich tapestry of our traditions and the universal values that bring us together in joy and unity. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the story of Christmas and the Advent Calendar. Once upon a time, in the quaint village of Hamburg in 1838, lived a kind-hearted man named Johann Heinrich Wicken. He was the head of the evangelical boys' orphanage, Rohr's House, a place where he dedicated his life to caring for young boys in need. As the festive season approached, Johann grew weary of the constant question from the boys. When will Christmas be here? Their excitement and impatience were palpable, and Johann wanted to find a way to help them count down the days to Christmas in a meaningful and joyful manner. One frosty evening, as Johann sat by the fire, an idea sparked in his mind. He remembered the ancient celebrations of light during the winter solstice and decided to create a special calendar to represent the remaining days until Christmas. Johann took an old wagon wheel and fashioned a wooden wreath, carefully placing 20 small red candles and 4 large white candles on it. During daily devotions, where everyone gathered to sing Advent hymns, the boys were allowed to light 1 red candle each day and an additional white candle on Advent Sundays. The warm glow of the candles brought a sense of anticipation and wonder, making the wait for Christmas feel magical. As time passed, this practice inspired many families to create their own versions of the Advent calendar. In Protestant families, gatherings around the hearth became a cherished tradition. They would read Bible passages, pray, and sing songs together, marking the days with various creative methods. Some families hung 24 pictures with Christmas motifs on the wall, while others drew chalk lines on the door, erasing one each day. Advent trees, often handcrafted from wood, became a common sight, with children attaching small flags or stars adorned with Bible verses to the tree. Each day, the light grew brighter, symbolizing the approaching celebration of a special birth. In Catholic families, the excitement was equally contagious. Parents devised a similar type of Advent calendar, where well-behaved children placed a straw in the crib daily until Christmas Eve, ensuring that the baby Jesus would lie comfortably. In Scandinavia, the Advent candle became a beloved tradition. Divided into 24 sections, families would allow the candle to burn down to the next mark each day, creating a soft, flickering countdown to Christmas. The tradition continued to evolve, and in 1902, the first printed Advent calendar was published by the evangelical bookshop Friedrich Trumpeter in Hamburg. They chose a Christmas clock design with numbers from 13 to 24. By 1922, these clocks had 24 sections and were sold for just 50 pfennigs. A year later, the Munich publisher Gerhard Lang followed with a calendar titled In the Land of the Christ Child. This calendar contained a sheet with 24 pictures to cut out and another with 24 fields for the cut-out pieces. Each day, children could cut out a picture and paste it into the designated window. On Christmas Eve, a picture of a white-clad figure brought the story to a heartwarming close. Lang's passion and creativity led him to continuously develop new ideas. His motivation came from a childhood memory of his mother, who had sewn 24 wibbly, a type of Swabian meringue, onto cardboard, allowing him to eat one each day. This simple yet meaningful gesture inspired Lang to create Advent calendars filled with chocolates and other treats. By the 1950s, Advent calendars had gained widespread popularity, becoming a mass-market product available almost everywhere. The motifs were mainly romantic, snow-covered towns, with nativity scenes behind the 24th door. Handmade Advent calendars by various artists also grew in importance, adding a personal touch to the tradition. It was fun for a child to search the tiny and frequently well-hidden number of day on an Advent calendar, and once found, to open the door and see a beatific picture behind that door. In 1958, the first chocolate Advent calendar appeared, delighting children and adults alike. Today, Advent calendars come in many forms, from toy and picture calendars to photo Advent calendars. In recent years, there has been a trend towards crafting personalized Advent calendars to fill with unique surprises. The Scandinavian idea of hanging jute bags on a line has become particularly popular, allowing people to develop and implement their own creative ideas. The story of the Advent calendar is one of creativity, anticipation, and joy. It bridges the gap between tradition and modernity, bringing families together to celebrate the wonder of the Christmas season. Just as the Advent calendar has brought joy to countless households, it can inspire new traditions in various cultures and faiths, fostering unity and shared happiness. Thank you for joining us this evening. We hope to welcome children and adults of all faiths over the coming 24 days until Christmas, as we share stories and celebrate the rich tapestry of our traditions.